Yeah. Okay, good morning, everyone. Go correct. So I think that there are folks that are already watching at home as we're just a few minutes right now, but that happens when you're corralling priests. And so bear with us just a couple more minutes to get everybody back in.
So he comes here before the procedure, he's all ready to go. He comes in, this may take a while. It may hurt for a while.
Okay, my friends. Welcome, and thank you all for everyone who stayed. This is a great turnout. As you can we were sort of right on schedule, and then we sort of fell off schedule. So I'm filling in a little bit of airspace here just for the folks that are watching at home. If you haven't spent enough time around preaching, you may not be aware at the end of a service, one of the things that's very helpful for our psyche is to shed some of those layers of polyester that don't breathe at all and to put on more human clothes. So Bishop Clark is in the chapel taking some of those things apart, which there are many layers that make a priest. So she will be in briefly. What I want to do is just give you a little bit of background. So we don't see bishops that often. In the Episcopal Church, we are sort of guaranteed to see them about once every 3 years. So it's very special when they come. And when they come, they typically come to bear news to you. And so you saw that beginning with Bishop Clark's preaching today, speaking to what it means to be Christians in this world, and what are the things that we are called to come and see. She is also going to lead us in this time of formation. And so she's following the same general format that we've all been following. And if you had been looking at the calendar and were really aware of that before today, you would have noted that today is actually asking brave questions. So some of you may have some questions that you came with for this session. And there will be a time in that, just like I do with this session. I suspect that the bishop will have some brave questions of her own to share with you. And so I invite you into this space of conversation with an open heart to hear from your bishop directly and to take in what it is that she is here to talk with you about in the ways that she is called to open our hearts to an expanding ministry in view of God's mission here in Glenview and in the Diocese of Chicago. As time allows, we'll let her guide the conversation, and I know Bishop Clark will want to hear from you. So when the time is appropriate, if you have a question, the one thing that I would say is help me try to take care of the people at home. So if you have something you would like to say, just slip your hand up. I know it's our desire to sort of jump right into our question, but if I don't have a microphone in front of you, no one at home can hear you. And so we don't have to repeat all the questions. So if you have a comment or question, just raise your hand. Otherwise, it is once again my great pleasure to welcome you, Bishop Clark, and to give you this space for conversation.
Awesome. So great to be with all of you all. My pleasure. And I'm the kind of person who wants to hear from you. So we'll spend this time hearing from you, if that's okay, all right? So I'm also one of those people, no question is out of bounds. So feel free to ask whatever you want. And if I can't answer it, I'll say so. But otherwise, I'll answer in all candor. And I appreciate you being here today. So thank you. So today I have 3 issues I want to hear from you. The first is, what are you so proud of? I want to hear about it. Because that's an example, not just for you, but for the rest of the diocese. So what are you so proud of? Giving you the agenda. The second is, what would you like a do-over about? You know, there are always some disappointments with that parish. So what would you do differently, maybe, if you had the chance to do it? And then finally, and this is really important for me, what is it that I cannot leave without knowing? So that can be about here, can be about your town, it can be about the whole diocese, or even the whole church. But what is it that you have to tell me so I can know about it and hopefully address it before, well, I know about it before they can go forward and address it, okay? So 3 things. 1, what you're proud of. What is it, number 2, that you'd love to have a do-over? And number 3, What is it you've got to tell me before I leave out of here, okay? Are we good? Those are easy. And then, come on, our ticket for the day, who will speak to you about deactivate. And that's really important. If you haven't heard it before, we have a new task force on the deactivate. That's how important the deactivate is to me. So I will give Deacon Murray a chance to talk about that. And like me, I think you can ask him anything. It's all good. Okay? All right then. So I'm going to sit down just so I don't fall out. I'm going to do that, so I don't want to do it. So, everyone, what is it that you're most proud of? And feel free to raise your hand, and between Matt and I think we'll find you. Okay? And if there's someone online, feel free, hello, our online friends, to join me. Okay? So what are you proud of? Yes, oh, do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. During the service, I was thinking about the saints from St. David's who have gone Marlowe and Northeast already. I was thinking about the saints that have gone before us from this parish. I was thinking of Marlowe and Dorothy Palmrenny, who were one of the leaders in this parish. They came, I believe, to the church at Advent Logan Square. That reminded me of the final report of the Task Force on Legacy of Slavery.
Oh,
Because part of that documents that the closing of about 50 congregations in Chicago in the 40s and 50s into the early 60s, and then the growing suburbs, and the diocese would pour money into and buy property, or 5 acres right here for St. David's in the late 1940s. And so my reflection is, and your comments about Martin Luther King's birthday and his encounter with the deep-rooted white supremacist racism in Chicago. And what do we at St. David's, who have flourished in this parish and this land that was given to us, what do we owe? How do we come to terms with this legacy of slavery and separation, suburbs and city?
yes.
And
Thank you, Newton. And your presence here gives me an opportunity to learn, so thank you. Anyone else? What are you proud of here? Yes.
I'm proud of how we use this building and this property beyond the church. We have scouts, we have scouts troop that use it. We use it for Al-Anon and AA. We also have the preschool, which is in the other building, which I'm the assistant director and also a teacher, and just all the good things that are coming from us opening our doors to other organizations.
Thank you for that. The interaction we have with the community, and you mentioned several organizations and the nursery school, tells them that we are vibrant, what's happening now kind of church. And that matters, so thank you. Yes.
I'm proud of our growing willingness to change and to, particularly during this time of transition, to re-examine who we are, what we are about, and what we want to do. That's it.
Well, that's great. You're in the midst of transition. You really are, which is an opportunity, really. So the willingness to do things out of the box is only a benefit for everyone here. So thank you for saying so. take one more, and then we'll transition to what could you do, okay? But let's have one more. What you have? We have two, so we'll take two. Yes.
I guess I'm proud that during this transition time, and even during our last transition time, we don't stop our forward motion. We keep going, and new ministries pop up, and people step up to
Awesome.
take on roles that they see a need for to help out. And we're still a vibrant and active parish. I love that about us.
Yeah, no, I love that too. That's important. We have one more question. No, feel free. No, that's fine.
Just going to give a shout out to our music program, because I think that, I'm always amazed at how much it adds to our service and how thankful I am that we have people who are willing to give that gift.
That's awesome. And when you have music, you pray twice. And so you should thank you for that statement and taking part. So thank you. All right then, so what would you like to do? Let's or do it differently. Anyone? Oh, everyone's happy with everything. I've never seen that. I bet you have something or something. And as you go through transition, it's good to think about it. So, yes.
I think I spent too much time away from the church before I came back to it.
Okay.
So if I were to do it again with what I know now, I would have come back to the church much earlier than I did. But having said that, I've been here for 30 years, so this is a while ago.
Oh man, it's the long standing. I once had a kid who I was at a parish that was at a crossroads of major highways, and he would stand outside and say, "Hey, come on in. This is where the action is." Anyway, our time together as community matters. So thank you.
My do-over, and I think it's something that we can still do over, is that there are still some issues here that we're not talking about, that we need to talk about. We need to talk about openly and address the hurt and the secrets.
That's really important. And again, that's your opportunity to really, if at the time of transition you do it, it's a good time to take heart about things that you really could have done differently and think about how to improve it going forward. And then you have the opportunity to do it better because you're in transition. So that's awesome. Thank you for saying so. So secrets, well, in my training, they say secrets really are not very positive for an organization. So what better time to air those issues, and then you can go forward from there. So that's, thank you. Anyone else have something they would love to do over? Yes. Okay, I'll wait for you, man, to your pass. Yeah.
Thank you. It's not so much do-over as
Okay.
not so much do-over, but just thank Matt for introducing variations in our service. We have been so used to the liturgy in a constant form, week in, week out. I'm sorry I'm boring everybody because I've said this many times, but you can get so locked into it that eventually it flows through one ear and out the other. Well, that's better. Yeah. Stopping this flowing through one ear and the other. But it is good to have this change because it makes you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the criticisms I get as a bishop is that our liturgy is so predictable that people have the chance to just sit back and never really think about things. My retort is, your church is so without agenda, we don't know what's happening. So, it's a two-way street, I guess. It's good to know what is going on, but can sample our religion to really engage. So, having different approaches to liturgy opens up our hearts to new things, which is a good thing. However, though, when I was in Israel, I gave thanks for our normal liturgy. Because even in Arabic, I could follow along. So that was good. Thank you. Yeah, so it's a two-way street, but I agree. Yes.
I don't know if this is a do-over or a restart from COVID times, but I think if we established more fellowship, bringing the whole church together in a more casual situation, we could start doing that more than, I mean, it's been hard to do it during COVID, and maybe it's just a restart, but make a commitment to, like once a month or something, and not be afraid to ask people to help out. I think, we're all waiting for someone to step up and do it, or maybe we should just ask people to help us.
Now, the ability to be informal matters. And to be in community means being informal, and it's okay with other people. So again, that's an opportunity right now for you to be in community informally, socially. I mean, one thing that you do, and that bringing coffee hour stuff in here is groundbreaking. I mean, a lot of places don't allow you to even have water. So that begins to bring down the walls. And so I want to say congratulations, because you all can be informal and still do the work of God. So thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I'm a new member. In 2004, in Mount Prospect was an Episcopalian church, and they had a Wednesday night service. And a lot of the young kids can't come on the Saturday, Sunday, they're either working or, but it might be nice to put something out. And it wasn't this type of service. It did, of course, have the sacrament, but it was, he would then list off saints, and it was just, a little bit of diversion, but we kind of need more church sometimes with the amount of stress we're dealing with.
No, that's really good to have those diversions. And as we go forward, we can think more critically about how we do that. So that's awesome. And not everyone, as you said, can go to certain things. Work, home, life, all kinds of things get in the way. So offering diversion kind of opportunities helps everyone. So thank you. Anyone else have a burning issue I need to address? Okay, so finally, what is it that I can leave without knowing? So, I mean, you have a new bishop who is new to the area and doesn't know a whole lot. All of you know more than I do. So, given that, what is it I must know before I leave you? You have to tell me right now. Oh, yeah, thank you.
This is more to do with the diocese, but one thing you need to know is that the College for Congregational Development is one of the best programs that I have ever experienced in my life. The opportunity to get to know people, leaders from other churches, was priceless. The content was fabulous, and I am so proud that the Diocese of Chicago embraced that and made it available to vestry members and wardens and things like that. So it's something that I think is really important to continue.
No, thank you for that. CCD, which is what it is really expensive. And in our tight budgetary days, we have to look at everything critically. So to hear that CCD was important for you matters mightily. So thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Yes.
We try to have different people come, different kinds of people other than just white people come, and people don't seem to stay. So I don't know, maybe we should try to do that. Maybe there's not a need for that, but what is there a need for that we can do as we already are? I mean, we're trying to change and be different, but somehow we're going to stay the same. So what can we do where we're at?
So, thank you for that question. And this isn't just people of color. So what I found is that people need critical mass. So it's really hard to come into church. It's very intimidating. And so if there's a possibility to have some critical mass, do not come by yourself and be the only one. And that's for kids, that's for youth, that's for people with babies. It helps to have more than just you. There are people like me who don't care, right? And so they talk bad about me when I had a child. And my child looked at the guy and said, "There's Marty." So, there are people who don't care. Most people do care. And so having a critical mass helps people to endure, if you know what I mean. But that's also not the whole story. Every congregation must do the things that God is calling them to. And so, even though you might not have diversity right now, in the process of doing the work that God gives you to do, you might be touching all kinds of people who God wanted you to touch. And that's great. It doesn't have to be a certain segment of our population. God calls you to who is waiting for you. And there are people out there longing for you who may not be people of color, they may not be new parents, they may not be young people, but they might need you in their lives. So we as Christians have to be available to those people who are just longing to be with us. So diligence is, and also being true to what God has called us to do is most important. Yes.
Picking up on something Melissa said, where we have some issues we don't know how to address and past hurt and things like that, I'm not sure we have the tools to know how to start those conversations. And so whatever the diocese could aid us with, I think would be very useful, so that we know how to gather people and to have conversation and to raise topics that may make people uncomfortable or angry, or there's a wide variety of opinions on.
No, that's helpful. And yeah, our diocese knows about those things. congregation had to address. So how best to do it, we're happy to help with it. And there are people around the diocese, moreover, that know how to enter in, as you say. So let us know, and we're happy to do that. And I endorse it. As your bishop, I have been in the crosshairs of great challenge, and I don't shirk the responsibilities. I believe that conflict is a part of a vibrant community. If you didn't care, you'd have no conflict. And so conflict says, I care about something. Something has to be said about X, Y, or Z. And that being the case, we can help to address those things and help people enter in. So we're happy to do that, especially during this transition period, because you can't go forward unless you address things. So we're happy to do other things that I must need to know.
Thank you. This is my family's fourth transition here. This one is probably going to be extremely important for the following reasons. The first transition was shortcutted by the transition committee, the call committee, because the two leaders of that went out and selected the next priest. That dropped the attendance here by 50%. Okay. Second call, which I was part of, it was lengthy, it was overseen by the diocese, and it was a unanimous choice. And that rector stayed here for 19 years. The first one stayed for 5. The third transition, the one we just have gone through and now the priest left, there was not a unanimous choice as far as the search committee was, and the first and second choices, I understand, already took calls. That particular individual, like the first transition, dropped the attendance by participation by almost 50%. So this particular transition needs to get it right, not just here, but at the diocesan offices. Because this church has a history of either making very good transitions or very bad transitions.
No, that's helpful. So let me say a couple of things. Matt, feel free to tell me I'm wrong. But in my experience, and I'm a former transition person, we're at a crossroads for transitions right now. I agree with you. And let me say publicly, it's a priest's market. So people, in all candor, who wouldn't have gotten a job as quickly a few years ago can now. And there are way more positions than there are people looking for them. So my caution is, get the right person. Don't settle. Do not settle. That's counterintuitive, but so important for your community. So understand it won't be easy. People might drop out, but insist on having the right person, that where there is this intangible of chemistry. Chemistry matters. And you'll know it when you see it, but it matters. So don't shortcut, don't cut corners, do your due diligence. Let me say also publicly, they will want your financials. That's a big thing in this market, because that way they can separate the sheep from the goats. I mean, really, they'll ask for it from the beginning, and they won't waste their time unless you're candid. Yeah, it's a pre-market. So one more question, and then where did Larry go? Oh, he left the building? I tried, right?
That means there's room for more questions.
Yeah. We have a few more that we can take. What must I know? Anyone? Yes. Thank you.
I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. Through this time of transition, as senior warden, there's been a lot of things that I was either not aware of or kind of new but not sure in terms of the protocol that the diocese has in place for how we transition. Since I wasn't aware of all of it as senior warden, there's a lot of time that I think that might go back to something that Melissa was talking about in terms of people just not understanding a lot of the protocols that go with a transition. So if you could, I guess what I'm asking Bishop Paula is maybe just address why the Episcopal, not just the diocese, but the Episcopal Church of America, why these protocols during transition are so important. And if people have questions about them, where should they turn? Is it to a warden, to an interim minister, to the diocese? Where do they turn for guidance on that?
So we'll work back. For guidance, come to the diocese. You have someone who's working with you. And there are very good reasons, as you point out, why there are certain protocols in place. I would say officially, through transition during this time, it's probably one of the most important things that any parish can do. It's really important. And the guidelines that are put in place are to protect you. They really are. So I mentioned one not long ago, and that was financial information. I have run into parishes that don't want to put that information out. And so we have protocols because we know that people will decide on going for it in an application or not because of financial information. They want to know. And so as one of the requirements, protocols, as you say, is to put that in so people will apply. Though the people will say, we don't need them because they don't have financial information, as an example. Also, we require that your profile includes certain things. That's a protocol. The reason for that is there are smart people who know what people are looking for. And so, again, it's a priest market. So if they don't find that information, they'll toss it aside and go to the next person. So you have to include certain information so that people have it and take you seriously. So you might have the best priest who could be your rector look at a profile that doesn't tell her or him anything. And so they'll be like, no, next. And they've lost them. So there are protocols in place that can be identified and helped to focus your work. And that's the diocese who will do that for you. Because they know that, in all candor, the whole market has changed. Even since I've been doing it, there are less people who are able to serve in the capacity of rector. They ask for more, they want more, and so all those protocols that are in place are there to help you find the best person to serve as your rector. So does that answer the question? What else must Oh,
Piggybacking on what Marilyn said in reference to protocols, because we're going to be getting to the end of the transition, at some point moving on, and Matt will be moving on. Can you explain the protocols of when priests leave the parish? Whether it's interim or whatever, what those protocols are as far as their relationship with the parish after they've left?
okay. So let me just go back a little. The good work of transition began before the people have left. We call it having a good ending. So you want a good ending, because the ending that you have with the person will dictate what happens later. It really does. So if you're kind of in a bad position, you start out in a bad position as well. And so you want a good ending. That's the beginning. So in terms of protocol, besides a good ending, the person who has been your pastoral leader is gone. And so they can't come back and do all those pastoral things, because then the congregation never has the opportunity to bond with the new person. So we're really emphatic about that. If you're gone, you're gone. And you should be there. Later is possible, but not initially. If you're gone, you're gone. So therefore, a new person comes in with a positive slate and an agenda, really, to get to know you, for you to get to know the person, and to work with them to accomplish the goals set before them, not the person who was here before, but them. And so that's hard and fast rule. This won't apply to you, but we don't let people like Matt become your rectors. No. The interim's job is distinct, and the person who comes in here as a center rector has to have a chance to become the long-term person, the person who's in relationship with you. That's why I said don't settle. You wouldn't do that in a marriage, for instance, or you shouldn't. There are people I've known, mail order brides, sometimes it works, often it doesn't. And so it's important, very important, that you follow those protocols so that you don't get caught unawares. And so if you're transparent and secrets are being kept, the person comes in and knows where you are. And that matters. You want someone who knows what's happening. And so those are some of the protocols we have in place, and they're important to protect you. You have a question?
I'm a retired union and I believe in seniority, so that's where this is based.
Okay.
This happened in the North Shore, that the pastor left in the North Shore. Someone was in place that could have filled in as pastor, beloved, the wardens loved him, everything. He was overlooked and actually found a job out of state, but what happened is the church lost because of this clause you have that you can't just fill in when a pastor vacates, but if everyone's in agreement, why couldn't he have stayed?
So that's a particular situation, and we encourage people, because they carry, excuse my term, but they're carrying baggage, whether they're awesome or not. They're carrying part of the ethos of of the congregation because they've been there. Sometimes that gets in the way of a new start. It really does. And so, yes, you might lose, if you said, an awesome person. But that doesn't say that an awesome person might not be out there for them. And sadly, I don't want to say sadly, forgive me for that. But being in the same way can sometimes mess up the blessings of the person for whom you're looking, okay? So I was in the parish. I loved it. I dare say they loved me. And I didn't want to go anywhere else. And they would have kept me forever. But that would have stymied my ability, my relationship with God, really, to go forward and do what God would have me do. Because I didn't want to do it, frankly. It would have been easier to stay and at the place where I was beloved and they loved me. And on my last day, I cried like a baby. I did not want to lose them. And who was there for me when I got sick last year? That parish. So that doesn't mean that you end all ties with them. That means that you're moving on as God would have you do. And our experience of people who have been in the system tells us that the person or the system may not be taking full advantage of the call that God is offering. And so, 9 chances out of 10, there's someone out there that really is perfect for the call. Might not seem like it, but that's our God thing, and that's our faith thing. And so we believe, I believe without a doubt, God has something planned for you. And so we rest on that as the true thing. And one small footnote about the parish that loved me and I loved, they got a better rector. He brought things to them that I couldn't have ever had access to. And so it worked. As much as I love them, they really love him. And so, all that being said, we open our hearts and our abilities, and we believe in that at the diocesan level. And over the years, and I've been a transition person for a long time, I found that you can open yourself, if you don't shortcut, you can find the perfect person for a parish, despite what it might look like. All right?
Bishop Clark, can I ask a question?
Of course. And I'll stand for it.
So we're on a really good roll here.
Yeah.
We're on a good roll here about a question that's been in this congregation. And so I also sent an email out on Friday that probably was received with a little bit of shock from some folks about my own next call.
Mm-hmm.
And we are talking about what it means for priests to leave well.
Mm-hmm.
And so just so that I'm clear about what that is and so that we all in this congregation hear that as well, what does it mean to you to leave well? What are the things that a priest is allowed to do after they leave? And what
Can't come back.
What can we do and what are we not supposed to do, just so that we all hear a little bit more about that?
Okay, so if you need to tell the outgoing person something, say it. You won't have another chance to do it, and they're able to take that with them. Do not, now repeat myself, do not treat the person badly. Because you know what happens? They tell other people, and so on, and so on, and so on. And so, if there are things that they need to improve upon, you can tell them about it. But don't say they're no good so-and-so. Because it's a priest spoken, hello. And if you don't like them, someone else will. And they'll say, oh, you're great. Also, leaving, it's important to make sure that you take